Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another edition of Inside D2 Football with Chuck Bittner, Chris Ferguson, Matt Witwicky, and Tony Nicolette. I am Brandon Meisner. Thank you once again for joining us. Really appreciate you being here with us. What's going on? Well, it was an exciting day yesterday, Division II. Have some great games to talk about. Harding, Classic at Henderson State, West Georgia and West Florida battled one out in the GSC. Also, a sloppy defensive game in the PSAC, but Kutztown was able to win at Shepherd. We'll talk about that one. We'll review the entire top 25, or at least the games of significance. Look stock up, stock down. Who's trending in the right direction? Who's going in the wrong direction? We'll talk about that. Mention some of those, and we will also do our normal pick segment. And this week, I'm happy to display the graphic this week because it was much better than it normally, or at least it has been in the last few weeks. So, but tonight we start off with the team of the week, which is the Indianapolis Greyhounds. They had a big win yesterday at Saginaw Valley, a 35-10 victory, and Chuck, pretty good performance on the road by the Greyhounds.
Well, it sure was. I have to admit, I was a little envious when I queued up the video of this morning and saw the sun-splashed field there, because we got a little wet here all around the East Coast. But wonderful day, wonderful performance for UIndy against a very solid Saginaw Valley State team. And I really think that early on, this was much more of a battle than that final score might indicate. Saginaw Valley did a really good job of being disruptive, getting into the backfield a lot, putting a lot of pressure on Gavin Sukup. But we're gonna see as we get a little bit further into this that Sukup made some tremendous plays. They really kind of softened up that Saginaw defense and put them into scoring position quite a few times. And actually, Indianapolis is able to get out of this with a big win. Big reversal of fortunes from last year. Is just a completely different type of performance, and ended up being a great win for UIndy heading into conference play. The Greyhounds are the defending GLVC champions, and entered week 4, ranked number 17 in the D2Football.com poll. A 3-0 start for them this year. Been joining us now is Chris Keevers. He is the head coach at the University of Indianapolis. Chris, thank you very much for joining us tonight on Inside D2 Football.
Thank you for the invite.
Well, Coach, congrats on the big win. I think the final score of this was actually very similar to the game you had with them last year, but this year you're on the winning side of that. So a big reversal of fortunes, and it really kind of felt like the big difference was just being patient and minimizing mistakes. They were doing a pretty good job of disrupting your offense early on, but then Sukup comes back with a couple of outstanding throws. You get the special teams play that kind of gives you an early score. After you kind of softened up that defense a little bit with some big plays, that kind of changed the way they were defending you the rest of the way.
Yeah, they were trying to do things with their coverage that they don't do usually, and we took advantage of some of that. Big played them to death. Really, that was kind of our. We had 2 really long touchdowns, 70 and 66, and really, it kind of, because they're an option team and they don't, they're not a prolific passing team. It put them behind and put them off schedule, and it made things difficult for their offense.
Now, do you coach the quarterbacks to throw jumping out of bounds across their body, back the field, 40 yards downfield for a touchdown? Is that something that you coach them up on?
If your name's Gavin Sukup, yes. He's very dynamic outside of the pocket. He's just very accurate. I mean, with uncanny accuracy as he's running and avoiding people. So that means he's made some plays like that our last 3 games.
You mentioned, Coach, that Saginaw is not a passing team. They're a team that wants to run the football. You were able to hold them to 2 yards of carry. What did you guys do? Why were you so effective in stopping the run?
To be honest, their run game is a lot like Wayne State's. So when we had a bye week and then we played Wayne State, so we practiced that offense for 2 weeks before we play Wayne State, and then we get to Saginaw and it's the same type of offense. So it's scheduling played a big part of that. Our linebackers were, we knew where to look and how to fit the run. And if you watch us, we fit the run really well because we've been playing it for 3 weeks with the same defense. I mean, it's been very fortunate for us.
Coach, a year ago, you guys were, looking at being at right around 23 points allowed per game. This year, you've almost cut that number in half. You guys are at 12 points allowed per game. Mike Brown, your DB is guy on our Elite 100 watch list. He's been as advertised. Who else has really kind of stepped up and has helped shape the success you guys have had defensively?
Well, we've got some guys with a bunch of experience. Landry Mavungu is a 6-year kid, number 0. He's 0, the corner that played an outstanding game. He had a big pick in the red zone. They threw 2 long balls at him, and he just defended them with ease. I mean, he's a cool character. When that ball comes up in the air, he doesn't panic. He's played for 6 years, so Landry's played very well along with Mike. And then Dylan Shelton is a defensive tackle that's disruptive. He caused them problems because they were getting their back out of and not protecting they were just protecting with 5. It was 1-on-1 with Dylan a lot, and he caused some problems. And got a defensive end named Aaron Barnett, who's he's been a 5th-year guy, and he's a guy came as a walk-on receiver, and now he's an all-conference defensive end, number 2. He's been disruptive, and and then Justin Thomas, our sophomore DN from Chicago, he had 2 sacks and a couple shots on the quarterback. That was number 9. He's a sophomore, and he had a heck of a game. So we've got some guys that have played a lot, and it's really helped us. I mean, we lost our 2 inside linebackers, and that was it with our defense. We had everybody back, so we knew we were going to be good.
On offense, you weren't quite as lucky that you didn't need to make some additions, and you did in the offseason. Strategic additions. Obviously, people that pay attention to Division II know that you lost Toriano Clinton. Yeah. You brought in John Lewis, who is the leading rusher in Division III last year. How has he fit into your offense so far?
I mean, he's fantastic. He's a fantastic fit for our program as a student, as a person, and he's a very talented. And he stayed here all summer and worked his tail off and earned the respect of our football team. And he's doing a great job. I mean, he's running with some ferocity, and he's making some things happen. And he's more of a he's a physical back. He's not like Toriano, so it's a little bit of a change up. We're not as much outside zone. We're more of an inside gap scheme team now with him, and so it has been a change up, but he's fit in perfectly.
Right, you must have had an intense quarterback competition. You had an experienced starter, but how did Gavin Sukup, who is now your starter, separate himself from the pack to lead your offense?
We just felt like he gave us the best chance to win. He's a very good athlete, competitor, and he's accurate when he's running. He's very accurate, and he's got an arm that he can throw the long ball very well, and he stayed here all summer again. He came in January and won national championship at DuPage Junior College, and was really going to stay. And we kind of talked him into coming with us, and he's been a pleasant surprise.
Coach, you guys in Super Region 3, you guys are obviously in the same boat with conferences like the GLIAC, with the MIAA, some of the top teams in the entire country. I mean, you look at the rankings, top 10. There's plenty of those names that are in there, whether it's a Ferris, a Grand Valley, and others. How does the GOVC and UIndy, how do you guys kind of find yourself, when you're battling for kind of positioning in there and league respect at the same time within such a competitive region?
Are you talking about the recruiting or the actual just playing our team?
You know what? Whether it's seeding when the playoffs come around, or being able to continue to kind of have success with your squad.
In 2018, we beat Fort Hays State at our place, and that kind of changed some things for us. People, we got some respect there. You got to win in the playoffs to earn respect, and I think that that helped us a ton. 2017, we lost to Harding, who was in the Final Four, and we lost the last second play and we had a chance. We didn't get it done. That's the bottom line. We didn't get it done, but it was close. So we've competed. We've done a good job. But it is, you're playing Grand Valley Ferris, and then MIAA. We play Central Missouri and had a good game with them down at their place. So it's, in our region, you're going to beat good teams to keep going. So it's you got to recruit a certain type of young man that's going to be able to win those games. And, that's we try to build as best we can to make sure that we're, physically ready. And, then you play some of them, you go out and play. We played Wayne, we played Saginaw this year. We went and played Hillsdale, it was a physical team. They're not, so it's, you just try to get yourself ready.
Coach, one more question before we let you get back to your normal Sunday night and get back to work for game prep. Last week we had Jazz Baines on the show. He's head coach at Western Colorado, and we asked him a question that I want to ask you as well, because you kind of have a similar background. You didn't play Division II football. You actually played in the Big Ten, but most of your coaching career has been in small college. You've actually been at UIndy for coming up on 30 years now. What is it that you like about coaching in Division II? Because it is so much different than being in Division I and being in the Big Ten. It's a totally different skill set, totally different set of challenges. But you've been in this world for a long time. What are some of the things that you really like about Division II?
I like the kids I coach. I really like the kids I coach. And I like the coaches I'm around. I was at Purdue for 3 years. I coached there as a GA, student assistant as a GA. And, and then I went to St. Mary's College of California out there in Division II school. And I like the coaches better. I like the kids are doing it for the right reasons. They're, I've been very fortunate. We're a 3.3 team GPA. So we've got a bunch of really smart, great kids. I've got a son on the team. I mean, it's just, I want my son to be around my team, our team. We've got some fantastic people. I just I never chased money. I grew up poor in the East Side, Indianapolis, and never needed money. And so I've never chased money. I found a place I like to work, and I said, man, I really like these kids, and I like the people I'm working with, and which I know is not the way to go these days, but I just like the people. It's more enjoyable than there's much better experience I had, in the Division II level than I had at Division I level for me.
Well, very good. Well, Coach, somebody who runs a website and videos and stuff related to Division II, I totally respect the idea of doing what makes you happy and not chasing the money, because there's not a lot of money in the dues.
No.
and we think your job is safe for a while, Coach. We think you'll be all right.
Appreciate it.
Very good. That's Chris Keevers. He is the head coach at UIndy. And Chris, thank you very much for joining us tonight on Inside D2 Football.
Thank you. Really enjoyed it. Thanks so much.
Thanks, Coach.
Awesome. Okay. All right. What a great time talking to the coach. And you know what, gentlemen, there's going to be a great time had by everybody but Whit and me this Friday, because we will be
already here, Brandon. It's only 5-6 days away.
Yes. It really, honestly, yes, it did sneak up on you, or at least it did me. And yes. I am not looking forward to the challenge, but I want to meet the challenge. So,
Brandon, truth be told, I was driving home from my son's baseball game today, and I literally drove right past the scene of the crime.
And it could be a crime,
pizza and chicken, and I thought, it's going to be all going down here on Friday, and it was kind of interesting. I kind of got a little nervous chill, and then I thought that guy better take care of his side of the pizza or else.
That's exactly what it feels like to me. Like, I don't want to let you down, because I'm pretty confident in your ability to chow down half that pizza. I'm less confident in my own.
So, but, hey, real quick story here, guys. I got a message that 2 Augie offensive linemen, Augustana College or University, I've done that now 2 weeks in a row. 2 of their offensive linemen, Blake Larson, who's on our Elite 100 team, and Trevor Burkhart, one of his teammates, who are both right around 300 pounds. They tried it not long ago, and they came up short.
Ooh.
But you know what? I think they're probably better at blocking and helmet and shoulder pads, and I think we're probably better at things like
eating and talking.
Yes.
Okay. Well, in any case, that's going to go sometime Friday. Don't know for sure yet, but Whit and I will try to devour that. It will be at Boss's Pizza and Chicken. I'm sure there's going to be folks that we know will be there. Tom's going to be there, right?
Tom Frederick, my sidecar for NSIC Weekly, and Tom will take some photos as we go. We threw the idea of video out there, but Brandon was afraid that he might actually throw up on live video, which would not be good for him.
That's a legitimate concern.
Watch an old lineman throw up yesterday on Twitter, but
yes.
I just don't want it to be me. So, in any case, the boss has become a supporter of Inside D2 Football on our website, and they're looking for franchisees around the Midwest. Go to their website, which you see on the screen right now, and click in the upper right, and you can get in contact with them, and they'd love to try to let you change your future trajectory or pad your wealth however you want to by opening up one of the restaurants. And
Springfield, Missouri is they're looking there, Brandon, right now. So if you're in that area, have interest in this, get on it.
Well, there are plenty of Pitt State, Missouri Southern folks that watch this show, follow Division II football.
Yeah.
And that'd be right in their wheelhouse, I'm sure. So in any case, I will see you in person on Friday, and I am honestly pretty nervous about this challenge. So we'll see how it goes. All right, let's move on and talk about some of the results from the top 25. We'll start with probably what was the game of the week. Harding at Henderson State, a 27-16 win for the Bisons on the road.
Yeah, it was a pretty entertaining game to watch, Brandon. It wasn't really what I was expecting. I was expecting that Harding was going to kind of control the pace, get out there and get after him right away with the running game and so forth. They got stalled out pretty good early. We're going to see some plays here and there of the video, and Henderson was kind of in control much of the first half here. They have that gray and red uniform combination that I'm not necessarily thrilled about, but they score here early and they're up 9-0. They missed the extra point, and Harding's trying to get the run game going. Then they got loose here and kind of get themselves back into the game just before halftime. And I really thought Henderson wasted a few opportunities in that first half. They got kind of stopped at the goal line, and all of a sudden Harding gets the lead in the second half. And, we had a back and forth battle here, really pretty even football game until real late. But you see Henderson get back here, get the lead. And then Blake De La Cruz here breaks through 31 carries for this fella, 179 yards and 3 tuds. All 5'8" of them. And you know what? He was a handful. Harding defense comes up late. Then they go on a 7-minute drive with, 13, 14 plays, whatever it was, and really, really demoralized, Henderson right at the end. Really well fought game. I thought Henderson was the better team in the first half, and Harding was able to kind of, make it through that and finish the game strong.
Yep. Great game by them. And De La Cruz, man, he really shoots out the holes.
He sure does.
It's pretty impressive. So another game, an impressive performance, at least by some defenses. Kutztown, a 20-3 win at Shepherd in a sloppy game. Well, sloppy conditions. And Chuck, you were there. Tell us about it.
Yeah, I was. And I know I've heard the conditions talked about. And the reality is it was very sloppy before the game. But during the game, it was actually quite fine. The rain stopped. And obviously, with these turf fields that drain very well, the conditions really were not a challenge for these teams. It was interesting because I had the outcome of this game correct. I thought Kutztown was going to win, and they did. But it didn't really go the way I thought it would at all. I expected Shepherd's defense to struggle with a Kutztown offense that had been building a lot of momentum. They had made a quarterback change. I went with Judd Novak, a youngster from nearby, and he's been playing extremely well since week 2 of the season. And I thought Shepherd's defense was going to have some problems with him. That really wasn't the case at all. In fact, Shepherd's defense played very courageously. The offense was just awful. They couldn't do anything right. They turned the ball over, I think 5 times total on the day, 4 times in the first half. 3 of those turnovers were on their own side of the field. Their defense actually got them out of those jams quite a bit because it was only a 6-0 game at the half. So very different in the way that played out. I really expected it to be totally the opposite, that the offense would be fine and their defense was going to struggle a lot with Kutztown. But yeah, I other than Ferris and, of course they didn't play well at Mines last year. Other than those games in region, I've never seen Shepherd's offense look so inept.
West Florida, a dominating performance against West Georgia. They win 49-21.
Yeah, I think you kind of made a little bit of a joke at the outset about them slugging this one out. This was never a competitive football game. I mean, it was just an assault from the start. West Georgia's only points in the first half were kind of a fluky defensive score where a guy ripped the ball out in a scrum and ran it back for a touchdown. They couldn't get anything going offensively. They're really kind of struggling to figure themselves out, kind of trying to find their identity. They don't really know which quarterback is best fit for them. And West Florida, man, their offense was just humming. And I think that we're really starting to see that group come into its own. Pee Wee Jarrett, really have to give him a lot of credit for the trajectory that he's on. He's a player who's just getting better week to week. Really like what I'm seeing out of him. John Giles has been an amazing addition to that offense because they already had Caden Leggett. John Giles kind of fills that spot. They lost David Durden to graduation. You bring in John Giles, and now you still got a two-man punch at the receiver positions. That offense looks really, really good.
All right. And finally, make the same joke, but Colorado Mines has no problem at all with CSU Pueblo. A 55-14 win at Pueblo.
Brandon, I really thought that this would be the year where we would see Pueblo really punch with them. And, it's at Pueblo. I thought this had all the makings of being a good game. 17-7 Mines right before half. And, Chance Fuller, he's going to take some chances. And he hit a linebacker right in stride for a pick six right before half. That pretty much changed this football game, made it 24-7.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, you got Matoka being Matoka, doing zone read, and he's getting 15 yards, 10 yards. Then he's hitting, Max McLeod, who is really becoming maybe as good as any receiver in the country, to be really honest. And all of a sudden you take a look and this game's out of reach. And I think we all kind of thought that we would see a little bit more in this contest at home from Pueblo than what we did. And they ended up scoring by bringing in a backup quarterback and letting him go on a zone read run for a long touchdown. And it was just like, if that's kind of what's happening with them right now, they're just maybe not quite where we had them. And all the credit in the world's also to Mines because they are really, really showing how good a team they are. Look at who they've played this year. Angelo, Pueblo, Grand Valley, and they're unscathed.
Yep. So, well, an impressive start for them. Unfortunately, Ferris is number one ahead of them and probably rightfully so. It's going to be interesting to see if we end up with a rematch. It doesn't look impossible, but I do guess we have a long way to go. But
I don't know how they match up with Ferris because we saw Ferris and how big and physical and fast they are. But I tell you, anybody not named Ferris, I think I'm taking Mines.
There you go. That's a great way to put it. All right. Well, that was a look at the roundup, and we will touch on Virginia Union's loss to Fayetteville State a little later in the show. Right now, however, it is time for our stock up, stock down segment. Check out the way things are going on the D2 ticker. We're going to start tonight with stock up, Kentucky Wesleyan. Tell us about it, Chuck.
Yeah, there's a reason I used an image of Kentucky Wesleyan in my national roundup column this morning. The Panthers lost their opener at West Florida 35-3. Very forgivable outcome for them. But since then, they've won 3 games in a row. Now, they're not beating top 25 opponents. We know that. But this is all relative. This is a program that hasn't won more than 3 games in a season since 2015. So sitting at 3-1 overall, 2-0 in the conference is a really big deal for them. So we want to recognize that. Camden Williams, wide receiver, is leading the GMAC in receiving yards. Christian Arambidi playing very well at quarterback. Christian, I hope I got your name right. So big things going on for them. They've still got some really tough games coming up, but stock up at Steel Stadium in Owensboro, Kentucky for the Kentucky Wesleyan Panthers.
All right. Well, Whit, it feels a little bit like a pile on, but we're going to go with the stock down, and that is CSU Pueblo.
Yeah, I wasn't even done talking about them a moment ago, right? But when we're going to do this top up, stock up, stock down segment, the reality of the situation is we gave Pueblo a whole lot of love at the beginning of the year, guys. We talked about them being, kind of the new hot chick of the dance. And you know what? Let's be real frank. Things have turned, and these last 2 weeks they've been at home and gotten humbled twice, and pretty badly. And so, you get both sides of this. I mean, if we're going to say a lot of good things on the front side, we have to be honest about this. And that's kind of where they're at right now. They got plenty of time to recover here, but right now they're stocked down.
Yeah. Good news, though, for a CIAA team, Virginia State, stock is up for them.
I think we got Ferg. Is he muted, maybe?
He is with us. I think we're having some microphone issues.
Well, maybe we can come back to that.
Yeah, let's go ahead. And Chris, we'll remove you and see if you come back in and see if it helps. But let's go ahead and go with our stock down. Saginaw Valley.
Yeah, guys, coming into the season, when you look back to what the Cardinals did last year, highly competitive against Fair State, taking them down to the wire, losing a 1-point game at home to Davenport, who was a playoff team. And, a lot of us maybe thought that they might have even been better than Davenport in the body of work through the entirety of last year. And then having key win. Gosh, this is a team that's really going to be in a good spot next year. And Jairus Grissom wasn't their starting quarterback for most of last year, but they got him back for this year. And they get off to a 2-0 start. And boy, these last 2 weeks against Truman and Indianapolis, they haven't gone well. I mean, this is a team that, wants to run the ball, and they've really struggled to do it. And then they've seemed to be really susceptible to big plays in the pass game. So when you can't control other teams and keep them off the field and they're throwing the ball over the top on you, I mean, Coach Keevers talked about those 2 big plays that they had this week. And then last week they gave up a 46-yarder to Truman. So it's a lack of identity on offense because they've got 3 different guys playing quarterback and a bunch of different guys in the backfield and a porous back end of the defense. It's just not a good mix right now. And 2-2 is not where I think a lot of us had Saginaw Valley 4 weeks into the season.
No.
Tony, do you think that this squad, we're just entering obviously conference competition at this point.
Yeah.
They haven't seen a Ferris, they haven't seen a Grand Valley, or Davenport. How do you think that they have time to right the ship here, or what are your thoughts?
Well, they get Grand Valley Saturday, so if they've got time, it's about 6 days worth. Based on what we've seen thus far, at least the way it's trending, they're going to have to figure out a lot of things in a real hurry because Grand Valley's going to come in off of an extra week off to prepare, and it's going to be a challenge. And I believe Ferris is the week after that, so Saginaw's got a tough stretch coming up.
Absolutely.
Sure. All right. Well, with Chris having some technical difficulties, that will be the end of our stock up, stock down segment. And we'll be right back after this. Just wanted to take this opportunity to thank those who have supported D2Football this year. D2Football is free, but it isn't cheap. Your support helps offset our expenses and allows us to expand our coverage. If you like what we're doing, please consider supporting us. Visit d2football.com/support. Or if you want to do it the old-fashioned way, click contact on the website to find our mailing address. But again, thank you for supporting D2Football. All right, let's bring Chris back. Chris, can we hear you now?
I don't know. Can you?
Yes, we can now. All right. So tell you what, go ahead. Tell us about Virginia State, please.
All right. So Virginia State, there's been kind of a revolving door in terms of who might be the best team in the CIAA. And we thought it was Virginia Union, but clearly they had a slip up yesterday. But Virginia State has been quietly coming back on line as challenging for the very top of the CIAA. And they got the win against Norfolk State. They got the win against Tusculum and solid non-conference schedule, and they've just been putting teams away. They're now leading the conference in total offense, rushing yards, and also they're second in the conference behind Bowie State in total defense. And I think nothing shows more what they can do in that weather that many people had along the East Coast, and they managed to get over 30 points and shut out Livingstone at the same time. So certainly a team to watch, and certainly on the rise.
Awesome. Very good. Let's go over some other news and notes. Tuskegee's Aaron James is only the third coach in Tuskegee history to start 4-0. So congratulations to him. Jada Byers did not play for Virginia Union in their loss to Fayetteville State, which I said we'd touch on as a 10-7 loss. Curtis Allen ran for 155, but it wasn't enough, and Virginia Union lost 3 fumbles in that game. And finally, Valdosta State, and Minnesota Duluth, both named programs in Division II, are 4-0. How long do you guys think they show up, or until they show up in the poll? How long do you guys think that'll be?
Let's jump on that first. I have some thoughts, but anybody else got some thoughts?
Well, I was going to say for Valdosta, I mean, this week they're playing Chowan, so I mean they're going to get to 5-0 before they get to Delta State week 6. So I think that there's a chance that they could certainly get there, next week, if not now.
Chuck, what are your thoughts about? You had a chance to see some of the Blazers, didn't you?
I watched a bit of Valdosta last night. Yes, they played North Greenville. I thought it was actually a very good performance and a very good win for them. We kind of thought North Greenville might match up in a few areas and make that a very competitive game. I think it was actually probably less competitive than the 28-3 score. I think Valdosta was really kind of just managing the deficit, managing the game flow for most of the second half. I think they were definitely the better team. I think if they had needed to, they probably could have put up some more points in that game. The defense really kind of had that in control, and I think they were just kind of managing to that. So when you look at being 4-0, there's a couple of wins in there that we don't quite know how to value so much yet. I mean, we know Kaiser's a very good NAIA team.
Yeah.
But it still is a little tough to kind of feel like how much do we really value the good performance that they put in there. I think we just kind of need to see them deliver against the teams that they have to compete with for the GSC. So I didn't yet have them in my top 20-25, but they're like first or second team out.
Now, for what it's worth, I did put them in at 23 on my latest. Now, I look at Albany, Kaiser, and North Greenville as all what I would call capable and dangerous opponents.
Sure.
Not necessarily ones that are top 25 or maybe even in that immediate mix. But at the same time, you're seeing the Valdosta defense seems to be measurably different than they were a year ago when they were kind of getting run over. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
I was going to say, does it mean they're actually playing defense?
Whoa. That was Brandon Meisner. But no.
Yeah, I don't care.
And then, on the flip side, Duluth has been dominating some teams. Now, they've got a big old husky fellow named Walt Jasper who plays quarterback, who's like a mountain man playing quarterback. And, the only close game they had was against Sioux Falls, where I thought they were really in control the whole time anyway. But you're talking about two programs who have been, in the news for us for many years, and maybe a resurgence. Keep an eye on them.
All right.
Yep.
Awesome. So let's go ahead and look at our Pick'em segment. Oh, no. You know what? I'm much happier about this than I have been the last couple of weeks. Look at all that green on the board. Now, maybe it's because maybe this choice of games was bad by me. But nonetheless, that's a lot of success and not too many failures, which is the opposite, at least, of what my season has been.
Did Chuck and Chris get all 5 right? Do I see that correct?
I believe that is correct.
Right.
Yes.
Respectable.
Right.
Yes. Good job.
We've got to change that. I'm not picking all the chalk this week. We're going to go at this.
Very good. All right, let's go ahead and turn our attention to week 5. Let's start with the ones to watch. First, Augustana is at Sioux Falls. That's an interesting game. It's the key to the city. and Whit and I will both be there. So tell me about what I should expect at this game, Whit.
Well, they played 10 times in this Key to the City, matchup. Sioux Falls has had the key 8 times out of the 10. Augustana is going to be the clear-cut favorite, and they haven't necessarily won that title real well when they've been favorites in this contest in the past. For what it's worth, the 2 wins they have are both at USF. We don't know exactly what we're going to expect, and who's to say how well you and I will be feeling by the time it comes to that for the pizza challenge. But I expect it'll be a hard-fought game.
Very good. In the South Atlantic Conference, Mars Hill will be at Limestone.
A very resurgent Limestone team, I should say. They started 0-2 with those 2 GSC opponents, but they've come back with two good wins in a row. So I think this is a closer game than it might look just looking at records.
Hey, the one thing I mentioned about Mars Hill is how they've been shutting down run games, and they did that against Barton, and now they're going up against another really good running back in Trey Stewart. So I think it's going to be a really good test to see if Mars Hill can sustain success.
Yep, absolutely.
All right, Charleston's had a great start to the season. They will host a 2-1 Glenville State team. That's is this the best start that Charleston's had in a while, Chuck?
I don't know if it's the best start they've had in a long time. They've had some good teams recently.
Right.
We'll see. I mean, 2 of the teams that they've beaten, they're 4-0, so obviously they're off to a great start. 2 of the teams that they've beaten just have absolutely nothing going for them right now. I mean, you talk about stock down. Concord's not stock down. They've been shut down by the SEC and taken off the exchange.
We're going to have a new segment. We're going to have a new segment for Chuck. I like that.
And
I like that. Yeah.
It's just they just don't have anything working for them. Wesleyan's just, oh boy. And Glenville State surprised me a little bit. They lost to West Virginia State this last weekend, who West Virginia State would be a fantastic stock up right now. They're playing some really, really good football. But I think this is a very competitive football game.
Right. Missouri Southern at 3-1 at Central Oklahoma, 1-3. I think a lot of people would have thought the records could be inverted at this point. To me, this one's interesting to see just where both programs are at.
I think Central would love to take what's on the graphic for their record.
Right.
As we take a look, guys, here, Missouri Southern, I mean, did anybody really expect 3-1 right out of the gate here? I didn't.
No.
So they played very well. Atiba Bradley's doing a heck of a job there.
For sure.
All right. And finally, Notre Dame 2-2 will play at Frostburg State.
Yeah, back-to-back losses for Notre Dame. They need a bounce back in a big way.
All right. And I also wanted to mention, without commentary, Delta State will be at West Alabama. West Florida is at North Greenville, as you guys mentioned. And then Grand Valley will play at Saginaw Valley. A little bit of luster was knocked off of that game after the result this past weekend or yesterday. So, but that'll be the ones to watch this week. Let's go ahead and look at the pick segment. What we think are some of the best games this week, combined with games that we think could go either way. Davenport is at Michigan Tech. Minnesota State's at Bemidji State. IUP is at Slippery Rock. Texas A&M Kingsville is at UT Permian Basin. And East Stroudsburg will play at Kutztown. All right. Let's go ahead and start to pick them. And Ferg, you get to go first. Davenport and Michigan Tech.
I don't know that much about Michigan Tech. I hate to say that. But, I have seen Davenport in person, and they're a pretty resilient team and can beat you on the ground and through the air. I like Davenport in this one.
Okay. All right. And I will pick Davenport as well, even though my heart would like to go for Michigan Tech. Chuck, you.
Yeah, I like the fact that Michigan Tech has had a really good start to the year, 3-0. I think only one of those is a D3 opponent, but 3-0 is really good start to the year for them. But I just think Davenport's the better team here.
Okay. Whit.
Well, after I thought Michigan Tech was going to get peacocked this last week by Upper Iowa, I have a hard time having a lot of faith in them beating a team that I have ranked in Davenport. So I think you can see I'm going with Davenport.
Understood. Yep. And finally, Tony.
So, guys, this game last year was actually at Davenport, and Tech held a pair of 17-point leads in the first half. And then Davenport outscored them 45-14 over the last 32, 33 minutes of game action. So Tech can play with Davenport. And this is Davenport's first road trip of the season, and going up to the UP is difficult for anybody. So I think this will be a somewhat competitive game. I think just for me at this point, you got a graduate student, experienced starter for Davenport playing at the quarterback position in Jason Whitaker. And Alex Freeze is doing a good job for Tech in his first year as a starter, but he's thrown 6 picks in the last 2 games. And that's made his team have to work extra hard to beat a D3 Wisconsin Platteville and an Upper Iowa team that we didn't really expect to necessarily have a big lead over Tech. So, yeah, I got to go Davenport here too.
All right. I was a little afraid of that, but it is what it is. All right. Minnesota State is at Bemidji State. I will start first. At the beginning of the year, I would have picked Bemidji, but the way Minnesota State has played has forced my hand, and I will take the Mavericks in this one. And Chuck.
This is a really tough one, and this is one that I may go in a different direction by the time I write my column later in the week. But
not allowed. Not allowed.
On the record for the show, the pick that I have to go with, I kind of feel the same way, Brandon, but I'm going to stick with the Beavers. In this one, I'm going to pick Bemidji State.
Picking opposite of me is always a wise move. Tony, go ahead.
Yeah, these are 2 teams that, I look at them and they're even, but they're Minnesota being more physical, and I think that's probably still the case. But Bemidji is really adapted their style of play, and obviously that shows by the success that they've had in the Northern Sun over the last couple of years. And I think they're hungry for this one, and they get it at home. So, my gut kind of tells me Minnesota State, but I think I'm going to take Bemidji anyway.
Fun. All right. Ferg.
Man, I tell you, Minnesota State has really been resurgent this year. I mean, I feel like every time I tune in or try to look at what they're doing, they're just running all over people. And, I don't know if Bemidji's defense has gotten better enough to stop that. I know they've been kind of up and down over the years. At the same time, it's hard to go against the Beavers and Brandon Alt and company, but here, I'm going to go with Minnesota State. I think that they're going to take that win.
All right, very good. And Matt, you get the last word on this game.
Watching Mankato, you got Sheen Butler-Lawson, who is maybe as good as any running back in the country, explosive, and can run between the tackles. And, you see how well that they've been playing these last handful of weeks. But I'm going to go with the Mean Green and their defense. They're leading the Northern Sun against the rush, 2.4 yards a carry. The comment about them being physical, I think they're going to remember that. I think Bemidji is going to try and out-physical Mankato, and I can't wait to see this football game. I'm taking the Mean Green in this one. I'm taking Bemidji.
All right, very good. IUP is at Slippery Rock, another great rivalry game. And Chuck, you'll start this one off.
I think Slippery Rock is probably the best team in Super Region 1 right now, not just the PSAC, but probably the best team in Super Region 1. I know I'll hear from the Tiffin fans on that because they're playing really good football too. But I think Slippery Rock has done almost everything that they need to do. Of course, there's areas where they want to get a little better. This is at Slippery Rock. It's at night. The Rock has won something like, I'm looking for some stats that I reviewed earlier this year. I think they've won something like 30 night games in a row at home. They do really well. There's probably going to be a huge crowd for this game. And I think that they're just a much more complete team right now. So I'm going Slippery Rock.
Okay. Matt.
Chuck, you got it all wrong. The Crimson Hawks are figuring out how to get Karst Hunter going on the ground, my friend. 120 yards in the last 2 games total, 3 tuds. I have a feeling, Chuck, I know that you know the PSAC, but I am taking IUP playing the disrespect card, winning this one on the road.
Very good. Tony.
Yeah, I could see this game going either way. I just think for me,
that's why it's on the pick'em.
Yeah, well, thank you for that in-depth analysis, Matt. To me, when I look at what their body of work is thus far, the only team that really hasn't been tested or hasn't let a game get into a test mode is Slippery Rock, and they're at home. I think I agree with Chuck. They probably are the best team in Super Region 1 at the moment, and I think they're going to play like it. I think they hold serve at home.
All right. Chris.
Well, I guess I would say that just looking at the numbers, IUP certainly has the edge on defense. But at the same time, I'm with y'all that I don't know if IUP has really faced a team as complete as Slippery Rock has. And so if we go into the law of transitive properties, I just think about that week 1 loss with Ashland. I mean, so I'm going to go with Rock here. I tend to go with the Rock. They don't let me down, so I'm going to go with Rock.
All right. Well, I am going to agree with Matt Wicki on this one and go with sorry, Whit. I'm sorry. I still
just said no.
IUP is a bad sequence at the end of a game from being undefeated. And I'm just going to go with my gut this time, and I'm picking IUP. All right, next game, Texas A&M Kingsville at UT Permian Basin. And Whit, you'll start this one.
This one was the hardest one for me. I think UT Permian Basin at home, and I think they're doing a lot of good things offensively. I just, by the slimmest of margins, I'm taking them.
Okay. Tony. I think we might have a connection issue with Tony. Chris, let's move on to you until Tony's connection clears up.
I just want to say, you see, this is where my WT degree is. And I'm taking that off the wall right now after what happened. I mean, come on. And so nonetheless, what I would say is, I like Kingsville in a lot of ways, but man, UTPB is rolling right now. And I think they're fighting for quite a bit of respect. And so if they want it, I think, they've got to go through Kingsville and they've got to go through Angelo. And so I think that this is a good way for them to get some of that respect. And they seem that, their high-powered offense, I was a little suspect after the way they beat up, what was it, Texas College and those teams. But they showed that they can put up numbers against, other respectable Division II programs. So, yes, I'm going with UTPB here.
All right. Tony, back to you.
Yeah, sorry about the glitch, guys. So I think body of work wise, I think Kingsville's probably got the more complete story coming into this year. But I picked Permian Basin, and if low many weeks ago in our season preview episode, I picked them to win the Lone Star. If they're going to do that, they got to win Saturday. So I'll stick with Permian Basin.
Very good. I am going to go with Kingsville just to stay on the good side of my friend Whit and not picking the same team as him twice.
Yeah.
Chuck.
Well, I agree with Whit. I think this is probably the toughest one to read. I still don't really know what to think of Permian Basin. They gutted out a really good win against West Texas this past weekend. It's tough to know how good their offense is or isn't. There's 2 lopsided losses where they put up huge numbers. The opponents just found all kinds of ways to play horrible football. So I just don't really have a good read on where Permian Basin is at right now. I think they're a very good football team, but I just don't know how high-powered that offense truly is. And I do know that Kingsville has a really good defense. They will need it because they have to keep the slow scoring. Kingsville doesn't have a whole lot of offense, but I'm going with the Javelinas and their defense.
All right. Very good. All right. In our final game, East Stroudsburg is at Kutztown. And Tony, you're going to go first on this one.
Yeah, I got to give credit to the Fighting Jimmy Terwilligers for being 4-0, and that's certainly respectable. But I look at, other than that odd win that they got over IUP, I still don't know that they've necessarily beaten anybody yet. And Kutztown's actually played real football teams so far, so I think I'll take the Bears.
Okay. Ferg.
Yeah, I think Tony brings up a lot of good points here. Kutztown, you would think that they would actually maybe be like a 3-1 team, but they're so hot and cold that you think you got them pegged and you don't. And I think with East Stroudsburg, again, they need this game to make a statement, and they are finding ways to get it done. I think this is the hardest one to pick over A&M Kingsville and U2PB. I'm going to go with ESU here. I think they're going to pull it together.
All right. I will go with Kutztown, impressed by their win yesterday. Let's go with Whit first, and I'll let Chuck have the last word.
Well, I was kind of back and forth on this one, and so I consulted my good friend Massey, computer rating.
So we're waiting for you.
Since I'm a big believer, they have Kutztown winning by 7, and I figured with that big a spread, if I'm uncertain, I really need to trust Massey. So I took Kutztown in this one.
Okay. All right, Chuck, you get the last word.
Yeah, historically, East Stroudsburg's a team that is really dangerous when they've got momentum, and they have a lot of momentum right now. But at this point, so does Kutztown. I know it's only 2 weeks, but I think they've got a lot of momentum too. And I think it actually really started in the Cal game that they lost. They found some things offensively in that game. Now, I want to see them rediscover some offensive form this coming week, because like I said, I thought that they were going to perform a lot better than they did last week. And East Stroudsburg's playing very well defensively right now. I mean, we saw that in the game at IUP. I can easily see this one going either way. I am going to go with Kutztown.
Okay. Very good. All right. And we will get Justin's numbers, or Justin's picks, off screen so that he is committed to a team and will not cheat and just add numbers or tell us what he got.
Able to share in the embarrassment.
Yeah, Justin's in the middle of a move, so that's why he's not here tonight. And God bless him. I'm feeling for him. I'm sure that's the last thing in the world that he would like to be doing is moving right now. So, all right, this is your warning. It's about a 1-minute warning. If you're watching on YouTube, you need to go on Twitter. If you look there, it's D2 at D2Football. That'll be our profile. We're streaming live now. If you want to stay for the overtime, go there. Or you can go to Facebook and just go to that address on Facebook, facebook.com/D2Football. I don't even believe you have to have a Facebook account. I could be wrong on that. Don't hold me to it. Doesn't matter. Go to one of those places, and that's where the overtime will continue. But just wanted to remind you guys to like this video, subscribe to the channel. Please share the content as well on any of the platforms. Retweet us, share on Facebook. Same thing on YouTube. You can follow us on social media, which you do see on the screen. D2Football is our main account, and that's me, Chuck, Whit, Berg, and Coach Poe, who's not here. Really encourage you to look at the columnists, read their columns. They have interesting perspectives. Not everybody is a columnist, though. We have some podcasts, and Tony and Matt are podcasters who are here tonight, and excellent shows. Tony getting the hang of it, I think, and trying to figure it out more and more each week about what your take on things are going to be, and your style is going to be. And of course, Tom Frederick hosts the show with Matt Witwicky for NSIC Weekly, and that's a great show as well. So remember, on game days, fans can access a scoreboard. It becomes way more important as we get later in the season and as you're looking at the playoffs. And believe it or not, that time is quickly approaching. It always happens way quicker than it just gets here so quick every year. And if you'd like to, we have the biggest collection of the best fans in D2 on the message board. If you would like to have conversations about Division II that are Division II related and not muddied up by anything else, mostly, you can go on our message board, sign up, and I will get you approved. And we will let you interact there. I want to thank WNEM, also Henderson State Athletics and the PSAC Digital Network for their use of their video tonight. Really appreciate that. Otherwise, stick around, and we will start the overtime segment when we are ready. It should not take very long. But until then, really want to thank you for watching Inside D2 Football.